Hello. So I think I found the best value field jacket you can buy in the UK today. And it's this, which is the genuine issue and classic M65 Alpine Parker. This one is the Austrian version, and I bought this with my own money from Surplus and Outdoors. I think I paid the pricely sum of £25 brand new. I want to say brand new, probably unissued is a better term, because these were phased out in 2005. So this has been sitting on a shelf for at least 20 years. I don't think this is the latest version because it has buttons rather than poppers for closures, but I know it's not the earliest version because it has a nylon YKK zip rather than a brass zip. But regardless of how long it's been sitting there, I love the fact that after 20 or 30 years, this thing has finally got a home that's going to really appreciate it. Now, I wouldn't normally do a review of a product I've had for only a couple of days, but this one is at such good value, it's such a good price on there, that I don't think this is going to stay on the shelves at that price. So I wanted to get this out very quickly so anyone who watches this channel can grab themselves a bargain if they act quickly. And for the record, I've got no sort of relationship with Surplus and Outdoors other than as a paying customer. Saying that, I did get a really good service from them. I think I ordered this one on the Tuesday and this arrived on the Friday. So I will definitely be keeping an eye on their store in future because I think they did a really good job. The material on this jacket is the same sort of polycotton blend that you get on the British Army smock, but it is considerably thicker and considerably heavier than that. It's also double lined, which makes it a lot warmer. It's just generally a more substantial jacket than the British smock is. And that kind of makes sense because this was replaced by the extreme cold weather system jacket. So I would peg this one more as an early autumn to kind of early spring jacket rather than, an all-rounder like the British jacket is. But like the British jacket, it still gives you that feeling of robustness and durability. This thing is built to last, and it gives you that sense it's been designed for war. It's a really good quality item. Now, the colour on this jacket is RAL 7013, sometimes known as Ranger Green, and it's a really nice colour actually because it blends in really well into this sort of outdoor environment. It sort of feels really, really at home here, but also it doesn't look out of place in town either. I would be happy wearing this one going into town, etc. So it's a good colour. Now, because this jacket is based on a much older design, it doesn't have a lot of the modern features you have on a more modern combat smock. So things like underarm pit zips to kind of ventilate or mesh line pockets just don't feature on this jacket, but it is still an incredibly durable and functional piece of kit. So let's go through the main kind of benefits or the main features of this jacket. So first of all, let's start with the pockets. You have two breast pockets here, and I actually really like the way they've done this because these have been sewn flat at the sides here. So it does actually lay flat and look quite tidy and neat at all times, but it is bellowed at the bottom and at the sides here. So these pockets will expand and allow you to store quite a lot of kit in them. Maybe not quite as much as the British Army smock, but certainly enough for everyday carry and wear. So it's a really good pocket to have. Now you access this through a button at the top and a storm flap, and the button is hidden away in this little kind of pouch here. So when you kind of fasten it up here, you can't actually see the button on the outside. And the benefit of that is if you are crawling through the undergrowth, it's harder for the button to kind of catch anything, snag and come off. So again, it's a great little design feature. And also I think it just looks nice and tidy too. Now at the bottom, you also have a similar set of kind of lower pockets here, but these ones are not bellowed at all. They're just sort of sewn into the jacket. And I think that's because where they're located, if you're wearing a rucksack with a hip belt, then that is naturally where the belt would kind of lie. And you're not going to be able to either access those pockets, and you don't want the bellow material sort of catching and kind of moving around too much. So actually it makes sense for them to be flat like that. Now, despite these pockets not having sort of a fleece lining like you might get on a modern jacket, they are still lined and they do keep your hands relatively warm inside as well. Now, because of the position of the pockets, it is very comfortable to keep your hands in here and just walk around with your hands in your pockets, even though they're not angled. Because it's a nice loose jacket, it just seems to work really well. If you want to, you can take the storm flaps, you can just tuck them inside like this. And again, that makes it even easier. Just stick your hands in your pockets when you want to. And we don't have to worry about anyone catching us because we're not in the military. It's all good. We can have our hands in our pockets. So yeah, really nice feature to have, and I will be using these quite a lot. Now, in terms of the zip on this, the zip is really interesting. It goes from here, which is about, I guess, 3/4 of the way down, and it only goes up to the top of the collar, to the bottom of the collar, not all the way to the top of the collar. And when I saw that, I thought that looks a bit odd, but when you actually wear it, you understand why they've done it that way. And that is because this parka is actually quite long. So not having the zip all the way to the bottom means that it is actually got better movement here. You're kind of less restricted around your legs, which is a really good feature. You have got a storm flap, and you can button this all the way to the bottom if you need to. So you don't need to worry about heat escape or anything. It's still nice and warm, but it does give you better range of motion. So that's really good. In terms of the zip not going all the way up to the top of the collar, functionally, that might have been a better choice, but it looks so good without it. I actually really like what they've done with the collar here because it'll lie flat naturally. It looks pretty smart, but if you want to, you can also just keep it up and it'll kind of stay up by itself. And that also, I think, looks really kind of smart as well. And that's the thing about this particular collar, is it's been designed with a bit of style in mind as well. Like on a modern combat smock, it's purely functional. But with this smock, it does have a certain style about it that I really like. And so whether it's up all the way, or it's just up at the back, it just looks really neat, and I really like what they've done with the collar. If you do want to close this off, there is a bit of material here. So what you can do is you can unbutton that, and you can button it across, and then that'll keep it really nice and snug and keep all the wind out. So it is still functional and it does work, but I just like the added style of having these collars, because the collar is really lovely, I think. Now, other features you've got to think about is you've got on the top here, you've got these epaulettes, and these look like they're a style choice. They're actually functional. If you were carrying an extra bandola of ammunition, or maybe a claymore in a satchel, the idea was that you could put the shoulder strap on and then put it underneath the epaulette, and that would stop the strap kind of falling off your shoulder. So it does have a functional purpose. On a lot of kind of city jackets, if you like, they've actually built these in as more of a style choice, but they did actually serve a purpose. That's what they're there for. Now, as well as the other feature you need to think about this, you've got a hood at the back. The hood is quite clever actually, because what they've done is they put a little zip at the back here, the jacket, and I can't say anything to say whether that is a YKK zipper or not, but it does feel good quality. But you undo the zip, and the hood, what I like about it is it lies flat underneath the jacket. It's not rolled up like it is on the British Army smock, so you don't get that tight feeling across the back of the neck. It feels really, really comfortable, the collar. So that is a really nice feature. The hood is quite big because it has been designed to work with a helmet, but saying that, you can cinch it down and it does work. So it's, again, a really nice feature to have. Other features on this jacket, which I think is really clever as well, is at the top of the shoulders, you have pleats, or bellows, if you like. And the idea of that is as you move your arms back and forth, your shoulders, that expands to give you more room. They've also put pleats on the back of the arms as well. So again, there's loads of movement in the arm and across the top of the shoulders. And that makes it very, very comfortable to wear. That is a really good design feature, and something that I actually really appreciate, because it does make it very comfortable. Now, the other features, just to bear in mind, the last ones, is you've got a what's it called? A paracord type drawstring in the waist. And you can just tie that in and cinch it in to give you a better cut or a better shape if your body type allows that. I know not everybody does, but if you want to kind of bring it up your waist, it does make it look really nice, I think. So it can make it more flattering. You've also got a shock cord, which is the elastic type in the hem as well. And I was a bit amazed about this, because this thing's probably been sat on a shelf for 20 or 30 years, and there's no sign of that perishing at all. It looks like it was put in yesterday. So I was quite surprised, and I'm pleased that was the case. So that's another little thing. So overall, I think the jacket does have a number of good features to think about. And even though it's not the most modern jacket, it is still incredibly functional. Now, there are a couple of things I don't like about this jacket, but they are really minor niggles, and they don't really detract away from the jacket too much, and they're all pretty solvable, I think. The first one is the cuffs. This is a button cuff rather than Velcro, and it's got two settings. It's got loose and it's got looser. And for me, I think they're just far too big. So I think one of the things I want to do is just move one of those set of buttons forward a little bit, so it's a slightly better fit around my kind of wrist, if that makes sense. The other niggle, which again it is a niggle, but something I think could be improved, is the volume in the arms, because I feel a little bit like Aladdin when I'm wearing this. It's kind of massive. Now that is deliberate, it's by design, and it is there so you can move around and it doesn't restrict your movement at all. But I just think it would look a bit sharper as a jacket if it was to have that tailored. So I might actually take this to a local seamstress and get that taken in a little bit, because I know it wouldn't cost too much. I think it would just smarten the jacket up. But it is completely wearable as it is. You know, it does detract from the functionality, and it still looks really good, I think, even with the huge Aladdin sleeves. Now, the only other minor niggles are on the draw cords in the kind of hood, the waist and the hem. There's no cord locks on there, so you just have to kind of tie a knot. Now, again, is it minor niggle? You can completely tie a knot in and wear it that way, as most sponge jackets are like that. But it'll just be a little bit easier with cord locks. And again, really easy problem to fix. I'll just go on eBay, order some toggles, probably only cost me a couple of quid, and then that'll be a lot easier to kind of adjust as I want to. The one thing that surprised me about this jacket, and actually left me in a bit of a quandary, is the style of it. Because I bought this jacket to use and abuse, but I actually like it so much. I think it's too good to use it for that. Now, the reason I bought this was I've decided to get back into pet photography, and so I've done a couple of sessions already, and I'm kind of having to lie on the ground to get down to the dog's level. So I didn't want to mess up my kind of regular jacket, so I bought this because it was cheap to kind of use and abuse. I wouldn't mind if it got scuffed up. But I like it so much, I actually don't want to use it for that. And if I bought a spare, which isn't unreasonable at this price, I think my wife would be having words with me. So I'm going to have to address how I solve my cheap jacket that I don't mind getting scuffed up, because I kind of want to keep this looking good because I really like it. And that's the key thing. I think I was in London last week as well. I saw a lot of people wearing jackets that had obviously been styled on this, and they just look completely at home in the city as well. And since then I've looked online and I've seen a lot of replicas of this jacket on sale, sometimes for hundreds of pounds. You can get the real issue here for like £25. And so in summary, I think this is a fantastic jacket at any price, but for £25, I think this is an absolute steal. It's brilliant. And for me, it kind of epitomises what army surplus always used to be, and that was getting a fantastic quality item for cheap as chips. So massive hats off to Surplus and Lost. I've got no relationship with them at all other than as a happy customer, but I will definitely be checking out their catalogue and keep an eye on them, because if they've got things like this in stock, I will definitely be buying from them again. So thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.